Yes.
So you're talking about a self-help tool there. In our beginnings of strategic planning process, several board members have said, we have to have a consultant to help us do all this. And I'm kind of like, well, we did it before, we just did it ourselves. It seemed to work all right. The problem was we stopped doing it. But now we spent a lot of time talking with consultants about how we're going to work with consultants. We haven't actually done anything. So do we really need that consultant, or should we just forget about that and follow your outline and do it ourselves?
Now, that's really a choice that you have to make. I can tell you that there are many organizations that take this tool and take the blank template and begin to fill it in and come up with a very good strategic plan. And you can call, as I say, you can call me at any time and I'll walk you through, you know, questions or hurdles, or you can
Is it just because I've done it before that I feel like we could do it and they haven't? Or
it may be, yeah. And for those of you that feel you need a consultant, I would strongly recommend that what you do is go out to some funding sources and ask for capacity building grants. And they'll, you know, we need to do a strategic plan, and this is how it's going to help our organization. Whatever the number is that your consultant tells you that it's going to take to do it, ask for that number and have a third party pay for it. Most of the work that I do with nonprofit organizations in facilitating strategic plans, virtually all of it, is paid for by a third party. Never paid for by the nonprofit itself. Bart's got wrinkles in his head.
I just want to suggest that from an EAPE perspective, in terms of like we fund or are involved with all of these organizations, my question is just, it feels to me like before you hire a consultant or somebody outside to help you develop a strategic plan, you should have at least taken a shot at sitting down and developing your own strategic plan. I mean, if you haven't thought through your mission and your vision, and I'm not sure I fully understand the values thing, maybe because I don't have enough of them, but certainly down to these, okay, yeah, this is our vision. Now, what are our goals in the various areas? How do we know when we've achieved this vision? And then what are our goals? It feels to me like it would be foolishness to spend big money on an outside consultant to help you do something when you haven't even tried to do something as basic as this.
I agree. I agree.
When our organization did our strategic planning, we started with a really neat exercise.
Can you speak up so everybody can hear you, please?
Started with a neat exercise to create the vision. The chair of the committee asked everyone to basically write a news article that would be published about CGLA 10 years from now. And it was a really a fun way to kind of think through what we look like 10 years ago. 10 years from now, committees, all members all presented those plans. And as we were presenting them, you know, we're throwing things up on the board, which served as the basis for our kind of crafting of that long-term vision, which then weeded down into the strategic plan. Helpful exercise there.
And you're going to be treated to another presentation on scenario development by Jim Hooker later on in this institute, which can also be very extraordinarily valuable exercise in terms of moving into your own planning. But I can tell you, if you take this sample plan that's in the book and put it next to a blank template, you ought to be able to, on your own, create a strategic plan. Now, there are many times when we get involved, and Jim and I get involved in going into an organization, it's because there are other dynamics at play, where boards at each other's throat in terms of where they want to go with the organization and so on, and they need a disinterested third party to mediate and help the process go forward.
So that was my other question, so I might as well ask it. But so it's like you said you, I assume that meant you singular, but it's like a plural. Like we have to, especially those, you know, vision and mission things we have to get together on. Could it be that my other board members are saying we need a consultant because we're never going to agree on our own? Is that what they're saying?
It might be.
Okay.
It might be.
Okay.
And it's just the nature of the organization. When we do institutes very typically, and I think Jim will agree on this, we always end up with 2 or 3 assignments, either development or planning assignments out of it, because somebody says, we can't do this ourselves. We need some outside help. And when they come to me, I say, go find the money and call me when you got the money. Don't spend your own money. And they always do. It's amazing. There's always third parties out there that are willing to help organizations that need help.
Can I ask one?
Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So I love this, and I think that our organization will be able to sit down on our own and do this. My frank question is, but do funders like to hear that you hired this sexy person to come help you do a strategic plan? Like that, I feel like that has been something that we've come across in the past. Like, oh, but who's helped you do the planning that we've done? You know?
Truthfully, I've never run across the question before in all the years. I mean, very typically we counsel organizations to go in and lay the plan down in front of potential funding sources, and it always impresses the daylights out of them. And I don't ever remember anybody saying, well, where did you get this, or how did you do it? I don't know, but particularly if it's the organization that gave you the capacity building grant, they're going to love the fact that. But we encourage organizations to take in just the first couple of pages of the plan with the mission, vision, and the key goal areas, and turn it upside down and walk the funders through it and say, here's where we want to go with this organization, here are our goals, here are the things that are getting in the way, and here's how we're addressing them. And people always ask the question, well, what about putting negative stuff in there? Well, negative stuff is great as long as you have the answer as to what you're doing to fix it. You know, it says that you're on top of things. Other questions before I move along? We got about 5 minutes. So anyway, once we've identified the key goal areas, then we're going to establish a 3 to 5 year goal for each of our key goal areas. In this case, in 3 to 5 years, we want to add a teen parenting program, a teacher classroom education program, and a grandparenting program. In the first year, 2009, we want to add the teen program. And then we do the barriers and opportunities. And obviously this has been shortened. Sometimes we may have 20 barriers and opportunities. Purposes of keeping this concise, we've shortened it up. And then what are the strategies? So if program funding has not been secured, what are we going to do over here to address that barrier? We're going to develop a special grant proposal package. Abusing parents will not pay. Our strategy is offer the program free at local sites and get a third party to underwrite the cost of it and so on. So that's how the process works. And the way we do it is we start by identifying the key goal areas, and very often when we get into the plan, we'll add some, we'll take away some. Like yesterday when Jim and I were doing the plan with the Franciscans, we had a key goal area in there on the Good Friday collection. Decided we didn't need it in the plan. There wasn't any reason to have it. So we took out that key goal area as we got into it. And we added a couple of others. So you do the 3 year, and then from that point you start working across the page in each key goal area. So you do these down, and then from there you start working across. And then for each key goal area in the plan, let's make sure we're on the right page here. Go to page 7, and you'll see a tactical plan. So for each key goal area in the strategic plan, you're going to have a tactical plan. And again, the strategy from the previous page comes over here into this column, or the goal, and then the strategies, and then the action steps. And you'll notice on this form that is in your book, which is more current than the one that I have up here on the sheet, page 11, I'm sorry. Yeah. You'll notice that there are some additional columns that aren't shown on this particular example. And what we have is the due date. Remember earlier I said you need a due date, who's responsible, and in this case, shame on me, the first example is executive committee. Would rather see a name there, but this is out of their plan. So estimated cost, if there's any incremental cost, and then there's a priority column that's top, mid, and low, and you can't see it by virtue of the colors, but the color coding is red for top priority, yellow for mid priority, green for low priority. And then over in the right-hand column is a current status, and again, it's red, yellow, green, and blue. Blue meaning it's finished. So that as you do the plan, that's going to change. If you're meeting quarterly, you're going to update those colors in terms of the status on a quarterly basis before your board meeting. And if it's red on red, you know you better address that right away. If it's red on yellow, that's the next highest priority. If it's yellow on red, that's the next highest priority. If you understand, everybody understand what I'm saying here? If it's a low priority and it's yellow or red, you don't have to worry about it as much as if it's one of your high priority goals. Questions?